Heike, hey girl. We watch TV or whatever. Listen, Lifetime's Lost, Netflix hit series You. Well, we at season 5, and Crazy Joe is the end for him. We're going to wrap up season 1 through 5 all in one. We're going to make this short without giving away everything. But yeah, this is a roller coaster ride. Okay, so season 5 opens up with Joe back in New York. Who would think that Joe would go back to New York? And where does he go back to? The scene of all the crimes to jump off with, where he was obsessed with Beck and knocked off Peach and all of her friends. Yes, the bookstore. He still owned it. Yes, the box is still in the bottom of the store. Yes, he goes back to the scene of the crime, season 1, the very beginning, where Lifetime Network screwed up. Whoever made the decision to cut you, I know you don't have no employment at this point because you was a hit from the gate. Because season 1 debuted on Lifetime, it was a hit straight out the gate, and it ended up getting canceled and it ended up on Netflix. So we know TV people make bad decisions, but he returns back. At any rate, he returns back to New York, and he gets in his store. And who is in his store? Bronzy, aka Handsmaid Tale. Red, you'll see her. So she's in the store now. Her real name is Louise, and she got a scheme and a scam to get Joe, to punish Joe, to have Joe locked up, or she wants to murk Joe herself. Now, this is one of Beck's friends. So it's kind of a backstory where it's three girls. They trying to set, along with Bronzy, she has two other friends. They trying to set Joe up to end up locked up or worse. Joe is back and he's with, Kate. Kate pretends to love Joe for who he is because, she manipulated him to knock his uncle off, and it's okay as long as he's out there killing for her. But then she kind of, looks herself in the mirror like she doesn't want this, and she basically wants to get rid of Joe. She has a scheme and a scam plan set up. You have the twins, Reagan and Maddie Lockwood, Teddy is there. Henry is back. Remember, Henry was left with the neighbors in season 3, I believe, and Joe left for Europe. But when season 5 comes back around, Henry, his son, is back with him and his wife Kate. So I found that interesting that they kind of tied all of the different storylines together. But you have Mira, Kate, and Nadia. Nadia's back. They actually lock Joe up. They get Joe locked down in a box. They want Joe to basically admit to all the crimes. Joe is writing a book of his own to tell the truth. This is like where Joe is really conflicted this season. Joe basically just wants someone to love him, Joe, for who he is. Joe is trying to find his you, but the whole time he finding his you, he's a whole serial killer, okay? He knocking everybody off that he feels like gets in the way or he feels like does something wrong or don't accept his love, That's how Beck ended up not here with, Peach and Karen and then Delilah and then Beck and then Ellie. He's knocked off a lot of people. And in this new season, he adds 5 more people to to the actual list of his victims. I mean, his backstory is Joe is typical Lifetime crazy. He gets obsessed with women, and when they don't reciprocate his crazy obsession, he ends up knocking them off. And Joe is crazy to the point to where he knocks everybody off around you. Like he takes your support system from you. Joe is like really messed up in the head. This is why he was so easy to fall for the scheme and the scam of Bronzy, aka Louise is her real name. She tricks him into thinking, now this is Beck's friend now. She tricks him into thinking that she's just as crazy and twisted as he is. She tricks him into thinking that she would accept him and everything that goes along with him, the murderous, villainous, serial killer psychopath. Remember, he's trying to be he finds himself, Joel, trying to be a good person because why? He has Henry. He doesn't want Henry to see him like Joe saw his dad, as like a maniac, monster, crazy person. But that very thing in the end is basically what ends up getting Joe caught. His love for his son Henry, and him not wanting Henry to think of him as like the bad guy. But Kate and Teddy, they tell little Henry everything. I don't think that was necessarily a good thing to do, but they tell him everything. When he calls his son, I don't want to give away too much, but when he calls his son tells him, "Remember, Dad, you told me the story about the monster in the bed. It wasn't there." And he tells his dad, "You are the monster." And it fractures Joe, like it cuts him in half, because that was the very thing that he was holding on to. I feel like Henry was a representation of the good part of Joe, or at least the portion of Joe that he manipulated himself into thinking that he was an actual good person when Joe was crazy. And so is Kate. I don't think that Kate should have ended up with Henry in the end either. Her and Teddy, they're all guilty. Remember, Kate, she was murking people too. She was killing people too, right along with Joe. Like, it was okay when Joe was doing it for her so she can become, the leader of her dad and uncle's company, everything that happened in Europe. And I think that was what seasons 3 and 4. Bronzy, she just comes in because she's really trying to get revenge for Beck. You see that at the end. I don't want to like give too much of that away, but she really wants to get revenge for, her good friend, which was season 1, Beck, when we got introduced to Joe and all of his crazy and his crazy clear box in the bottom of the library. Okay, in the bottom of the bookstore. I mean, um, Joe finds himself locked in that very box, and they find his key that he had hidden for himself. But Joe was a little bit crazy. He had a key actually in his arm. That scene is insane. Um, Not giving away everything that happens, but I think they wrapped the story up really well. They tied in all of the seasons from the first to the fifth. And if this show had to end, I think they did a great job with the ending. I think it was beautifully written this season, and all of the characters and backstories were really explained. I think the twin situation will crack you up, definitely. I think you're not going to end up liking Kate because she's just not a good person, and I think she should have ended up in jail too. All of them should have ended up in jail. And Bronzy too. Bronzy was not innocent at all. And she was conflicted on falling in love with Joe, even though he killed her very best friend, which was Beck. So it's a roller coaster ride that you would expect from a season of You. Definitely 12 out of 12. Go watch. I will see you down and around on the next one.